All right, so next up we have a fireside chat with Maryland's Cannabis Regulator, moderated by Leah, Heise, featuring Tabatha Robinson. Come on up, ladies. Give them a hand.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to discussion on the Maryland market. Maryland, I think, I'm biased. I live in Maryland, and my first exit was from Maryland, but I think Maryland is a great market, and they've done a great job. And I would like to introduce you to Tabatha Robinson. She is the head of the Maryland Cannabis Administration.
Good morning.
Okay, we know everybody's thinking about hemp, and everybody wants to hear about hemp. There is not a lot to talk about in hemp in the state of Maryland. Maryland was pretty clear in its adult use legislation that intoxicating hemp was not a form factor that we were going to have in the state. We have been under a stay for years, and we are still under a stay. So we decided we're not going to really talk about hemp right now. So we'll talk about other stuff. All right, here we go. All right, I've heard operators describe the market as stable but hungry, meaning a mature consumer base that has lots of rooms for creativity, and I want to explore that. If you had to describe the state of Maryland's industry today in one or two themes, what would they be?
I'd say Maryland's cannabis industry is in a very strong place. There are opportunities for growth, and we are looking to exploit those as an agency. Our operators are both experienced, and then we have a new set of operators that are just coming up to speed. And so really, you can get in wherever you fit in, right? This is the perfect market for diversification. If you are interested in operators that have proven businesses, have long track records, you can get in there. If you're looking for operators that are brand new, that are gonna lead with innovation and coming now, you can also support them that way. So it's really a pick your poison type of industry.
Thanks for that. So you've been in the job about 6 months.
9 months.
9 months, wow, time flies, right? How is Maryland different than other markets for you?
Oh, wow. Prior to joining Maryland's industry, I oversaw economic development with New York's agency. Vastly different markets, many of the same players, but vastly different in its structure. One thing that Maryland has done extremely well is its transition from medical to adult use. What that meant was that there was not a lag in any part of the supply chain. When adult use sales kicked off in July of 2023, Maryland already had growers, processors, and dispensaries ready to handle that new demand. New York didn't have that. That's one area I'd say different. Another area is actually coming from the top. Maryland's governor is extremely supportive of the cannabis industry, and that is rare. In New York, we did not have that executive support, and it really makes a difference in the macro in terms of what, as an agency, you are allowed to do, how you're allowed to design the industry. It also makes a difference in the micro when it comes to hiring, right? I always give this example, but in Maryland, it takes 2 weeks to hire someone. In New York, it took 6 months, right? And so how do you stand up a market when it takes 6 months for you to bring on your revenue analyst, right? Those type of decisions become much harder. And so Maryland, we've been successful because we have that support and we've been able to make the right decisions.
How do you feel about the legislators? Do you feel like they are very active?
Very active, very knowledgeable, very supportive. We are grateful to have them as partners. And frankly, they're always hungry for, what's next. They think about cannabis as a part of their legacy, and we as staff within the agency do as well, and so that makes for really nice synergy. Everyone wants Maryland to win and to be a leader.
I do, and I don't even own a business there anymore, but I love Maryland. I think it's a great market. Okay, let's see, sorry, I'm blind, we've gotten old. All right, some operators say the market is healthy. Others say that we are experiencing price compression and slow growth and are already showing cracks. What's your read on where Maryland truly stands today?
Maryland has maintained a pretty strong price. We're at about $8.70, which is quite healthy given where we are in the market and how long we've been operating. When it comes to growth, we saw really high growth rates at the onset of adult use, and since then there's been some leveling out. Now, one of the ways that we're looking to address that is by expanding the supply chain. We have a number of micro dispensaries that are coming on soon. They're going to be doing direct-to-consumer delivery on both the adult use side and the medical side. That will open up opportunities for more product to hit more people. And we're looking to grow the market in that way as well.
And will they be able to sell in e-commerce in that way?
That is something that we're exploring to see if that's possible given the statute.
Okay, great. So you brought up the micro retailers, and micro retailers in the state of Maryland are a category of licensees that came from the social equity rounds. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about social equity. Some of these operators feel that the capitalization expectations unintentionally privilege well-funded players. Is there room to reevaluate the requirements on capitalization to make it easier for social equity operators to get open?
So we don't have a regulatory requirement for capitalization.
Yes, legislative.
The capitalization requirements are really the cost of doing business. And what we're doing as an agency is figuring out how can we help them reduce those costs. Now, we don't provide direct funding to our businesses, but one of our assets is actually data, right? And so we are having conversations with the insurance agency, with the banking group, and trying to figure out how can you de-risk your product? What data do we have as an agency that we can provide to insurance companies and to banks and other financial institutions such that they lower the cost of doing businesses for the operators, and hopefully that can stimulate more economic opportunity and our operators can get capital.
What are you seeing right now in terms of numbers of these licensees even moving towards getting open?
Yeah. Right now, we are about under 20, maybe around 17. Most people are getting stuck in two places. Capital, obviously, but really property. We have some more conservative areas of the state where zoning issues become a problem for our licensees. And as regulators, again, we're in a position to try and bring those county partners along. So we're meeting with counties and we're saying, hey, I know you might be sleeping on cannabis, but look at how many jobs we can bring, right? Look at what revitalization looks like. Look at the old buildings that our businesses take, they refurbish, and they bring life to communities that have been really disenfranchised and underdeveloped. And that conversation of sort of bringing the counties along is actually what's helping to get more of these businesses open so that counties can move beyond the stigma and start thinking about wealth.
I do feel like that's a differentiator from Maryland. I mean, when you look at like the California market, for example, I mean, they overwhelmingly approved Proposition 64 or whatever it was, but so many of the municipalities did not allow companies to come in there. And if you don't allow companies to come in to those areas, then you're just limiting the market. All right. I know the administration is definitely going to get to equity, and we're going to work on equity. But let's flip over to like the larger and broader regulatory landscape. You've spoken about wanting compliant, safe, and competitive market. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for regulatory fixes are this year?
Thinking about where Maryland has come from and where it needs to go next, we need to focus on streamlining operations through regulations. Right? So the kind of issues that we see now are really how can we make sure that our businesses are more efficient, but also as regulators, how can we make sure that we are more efficient in our regulation of those businesses? So we're looking to streamline our efforts. We're looking to work with licensees to identify those pain points, right? What needs to be tweaked now? How do we make sure that Maryland is running quickly, smoothly, and in a way that makes sense for all?
Okay, that's interesting. And you're doing it through stakeholder studies or?
Very much through stakeholder studies, yes.
Okay, great. And where are the pain points? What are you hearing? I know what some of them are. What do you think are some of the primary pain points that the industry is experiencing right now?
The pain point that we hear the most about is advertising. Maryland's advertising statute is quite prohibitive currently. Prior to the onset of adult use, it was much more allowable. But now we've seen a shift. And so we as an agency are working with industry to try to review and reevaluate what advertising could look like so that our businesses can better market to their customers.
And what would that look like if you were going to amend the advertising regulations? For those that don't know, Maryland is super restrictive in the way that you can do advertising. You have to do an analysis of whether or not something is 21 plus and at what percentage of 21 plus they can get. It's very and difficult. And some of the actions, the discipline actions that are coming are super strict, like even to sidewalk, to sandwich boards in front of your dispensary. What are some of the things that you potentially would propose to change that?
Well, honestly, we are taking cues from industry. We are trying to hear from our licensees what they need to make their business work. We are having conversations around sandwich boards, right? We're having conversations around a certain radius around the businesses, having conversations around the use of brand names, so not even for dispensaries, but for some of our processors, right? How can they promote their brands? Where can it be allowed, and so forth? For example, the statute also doesn't allow billboards. And again, that's new. But okay, what are the alternatives if we can't use billboards and so forth? Our goal is to make sure that our licensee have access to their customers and that they're doing so in a way that remains compliant with this law.
And I'm sure there are conversations going on with the legislative body that these are far too restrictive. Any potential movement there? You may not be able to comment.
Some. It's slow. I'd say there's a good degree of conservatism. A lot of what we hear are concerns around marketing to minors, public health and safety. And as a regulator, we can take on that argument, right? We have a public health team. We have done a number of public health campaigns. And the work that we do can sort of help pave the way in terms of destigmatizing cannabis, but also educating the consumer so that both are happening at the same time. Our licensees are able to meet their customers at the same time that we are able to meet the public and educate them on how to consume, when to consume, what to consume, so that, again, we're all compliant with the statute and promoting public health and safety.
So maybe leaning into like that clinical director mindset and really focusing on the medical aspects of cannabis to kind of get the foot in the door from an advertising perspective?
I think that could be something interesting to explore. Maryland is required, all of our operators are required to be both medical and adult use. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there is some healthy tension there in terms of when we promote a product, how are we marketing it? Are we marketing it as medical? Are we marketing it as adult use? And does that difference in marketing mean a different reception for our elected officials?
Yeah, okay, I think that's interesting. Let's see, let's go to the next one. I'm so blind. Let's talk about the regional market and potentially the someday that we can ever do interstate commerce. Maryland's not an island. We have markets all the way around us. Where do you see opportunities with other markets, and also how well is Maryland positioned in comparison to those other markets?
Maryland is fortunate in that we are ahead in terms of legalization compared to the other states around us. We border Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, D.C., the jurisdiction of D.C., as well as, did I leave one out? Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So we have a number of partners, and currently we're leading. And we, frankly, intend to continue to lead. We think that this is an advantage. We are a model within the Mid-Atlantic region, and we intend to remain so. We intend to become a national model, right? And really promote, here are the things that we've done well, here's how we can further advance cannabis nationally. When we think about, as our neighboring states come online and develop their own programs, Maryland's particular geographic advantage affords us very distinct positioning. For example, in the West, where we are touching Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and can really get to the entire Midwest. We're seeing really strong distribution strategies there, and we're really excited about that. When we look at the East, we're on the Atlantic, right? And the way that the U.S. is curved, Maryland is kind of one of the more eastern of the lands there. And so we're thinking about import and export. How can we make sure that cannabis coming in and out of the U.S. has to go through Maryland?
I love that. I would love that. Can we get the bridge back?
We're working on it.
Do you expect more MSOs to come into the state and more consolidation, or do you think that the independent operators will continue to be successful?
Well, we have about 200 conditional licensees, the vast majority of which are all Maryland born, grown, and raised. And so we are working to get them through the pipeline and get them operational. Now, at the end of the day, what we care about most and what the counties and cities care about most are how invested are these businesses in the communities, right? So whether they be an MSO, whether they are local Maryland businesses, how many people are they hiring, right? What does the job retention look like? What are they investing in around them? You know, what organizations are they supporting within their localities? What we care about most are businesses that are not just here to make a profit, right? But are here to make a profit and let that profit do the work of the money multiplier in the region. That is how we measure success.
Are you seeing, I'm sure you're seeing lots of potential consolidation, right? Even with the prohibitions against it right now. Do you think we'll see more?
Actually, not too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, people are staying away. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, let's go into form factors. I think there's some real opportunity to have really good product innovation in Maryland. What are you seeing? Are you seeing any potential new product segments, things that people should move into in terms of being super innovative?
We are. We're even seeing a number of our social equity conditional licensees who express interest in getting in very particular niche sectors of the market, and that excites us, right? The idea that as Maryland matures, again, we're not a mature market, but we are maturing. As Maryland matures, there will be more and more specialization, right? That not everyone is going to do everything, needs to do everything. And frankly, we don't really need our businesses competing on all fronts. And so we are seeing some businesses that are focusing more on edibles, others that are focusing more on tinctures, others that are looking at very specific medical products that serve a very particular niche of the medical customer base. And we support all of that. For us, that's where innovation happens. And that's when we as regulators can begin to identify, okay, what's growing, where can we put resources, and who can we tap in externally to really support and stimulate that type of growth.
That's interesting. I would like to see more form factors come out. Early on when I came in, there were everything, right? Tinctures, salves, suppositories. Now CBD ratioed products, like you can't even find these things anymore.
So we recently adopted regulations for this. It's called our novel product regulations. And it allows licensees to submit studies and research on products that might be novel to the Maryland market, but exist somewhere else, right? And sort of making sure that we remain current and relevant as a state industry, and also allowing our licensees to bring that innovation here. We have a second regulatory program where we can incentivize the production of products that may have been booming in the past, but for whatever reason are not quite as booming now. And so we're developing that, how can we make sure we have a wide enough product selection so that even when it's not the top selling item in the dispensary, our businesses can still make a profit off of producing it and selling it.
I like that. I like innovation. All right, God, we're cruising. We did pretty good. So let's talk a little bit before we close. When you think about the Maryland market in 5 years and your role as an administrator in the Maryland market, what does success look like to you?
All the things. Success looks like getting as many conditional licensees up and running as much as possible, We believe that that is just one of the ways to grow the market. Success looks like market growth, right? It looks like more customers online supporting our regulated licensed businesses. It looks like maintaining our position and growing our position as a regional leader, like I shared. We believe that Maryland has a lot of potential, and as we enter into this next phase, as the industry is maturing, we are looking to continue to take this market to the top.
That's great. I would also like to see not too much more price compression. That would be really great. Let's wrap up with something human. This role is tough. I mean, being an administrator, public administrator of any type of regulatory body is incredibly difficult. And I want to thank you for everything that you're doing. If you could deliver one message directly to the Maryland operators, what would it be? And you can do a nice one. You don't have to do a mean one.
Okay, that's okay. Nice one. I would say frankly, it's patience. It is that government moves slowly, even when we're moving quickly. For cannabis to be destigmatized, for cannabis to move forward, we have to bring more stakeholders on board than I think perhaps any other industry, frankly, right? Everyone has an opinion on cannabis, even the people who have never seen flower, smoked flower, touched flower. They have an opinion. And because of that, we have to bring along the elected officials. We have to bring along the governor's office, industry, of course, community members, the elderly, the youth, right? The 21 and up youth. All of this takes time, right? All of these are conversations, these are scheduling, and so there are changes coming in the industry, in the agency, and we encourage industry to remain partners with us, to share feedback with us, to give us the space and the time to make their dream come true as well, understanding that, we don't make the law, we just follow it like everyone else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending the Maryland Market.